Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the compound inequalities using the word and we're going to take a look at this particular example. Notice that we have a compound inequality from -4 to +3. So we have -4 less than x less than or equal to 3. And we want to be able to understand how to read this. So it can be read as x is greater than -4 and less than or equal to 3, or x is between -4 and 3, including the 3. So we can see it that way as well. So how would I graph that? So notice here I have -4, and notice that it does not have an equal sign, so it's going to be an open circle like we've learned before. This has a 3, which is located over here. It has a equal sign, so it's going to be a closed circle, and then we would shade in anything in between that. So if we're looking at that, notice that we create that one, draw the line. We're going to go down to 3. So notice with 3, we go that way, and then we combine those together, and where they are similar is in between them. So that's really what they're showing in this particular case, is how do we go about doing all of that particular type of graphing. So that's really what that first one is just understanding how to be able to graph it. So if I'm graphing it on here, I know that I'm going to do my number line. I'm going to put -4. I'm going to put +3. No equal sign, so it's an open circle. There is an equal sign, so it's a closed circle. And then it's everything in between there. Okay. Anytime it's written like this, it should be in between. So you should verify the numbers to make sure that it makes sense that it is in between. Okay, so then we're going to move on to solving and graphing. So a little bit different. So notice when we only had a variable on one side, then we had to add or subtract to the other side or to both sides and be able to do that. Well, now we, in a sense, this sounds weird, but we have 3 sides. So we have the 2 ends and the middle. And what we want to do is we want to get this m all alone. So I'm going to add 5. I'm going to add 5. I'm going to add 5. So notice I add 5 everywhere. And on each of the areas within the less than or equal to. So now I have 3. So -2 plus 5 is 3. Less than 3m. Notice that these 5's cancel here. Less than or equal to 5 plus 5 is 10. Now, if this number goes to 0, you need to keep it 0. It does not mean that the whole side disappears. So then my last step is to divide everything by 3, because I have a 3 here. So I'm going to divide that by 3. Then I'm going to divide that by 3. Then I'm going to divide that by 3. So of course, 3 divided by 3 is just 1. So that is less than m, less than or equal to 10 over 3. Just so I keep it in my head, that's really 3 1/3. I don't like to rewrite it that way necessarily, but I leave it that way so that I can see how to graph it. It makes it a little easier to graph it if it is this type of number than this one. Okay, so I have 1 on the left end. Notice it's got it doesn't have an equal sign, so I put an open circle. And that's going to be my 1. My 10/3 is going to be located somewhere over here, we'll say. We're going to close the circle on that one. That is going to be my 10 over 3 or 10/3. And then I know everything is in between it. Now, on the graph that you probably will be given, you probably won't be given fractional pieces. So you might see the number 3, and then you might see the number 4, right? So it's about 1/3 over from there, because that's what 3 1/3 means. So that's how we would graph it. Okay, homework problem. So now we have n plus 2 is greater than or equal to 5, and n plus 2 is less than or equal to 5, and n plus 6 is greater than or equal to -6. Now, it says solve and graph. Now, notice that we don't have the same thing here and the same thing here, so I can't write it as one big inequality like we had it in this problem, and like we've seen it as an example here. So I have to solve it separately, each one of them separately. So I'm going to do -2, -2. So n is less than or equal to 3. I'm going to do -6 and -6. So n is greater than or equal to -12. Okay, so now to write this, I can look at it this way and see that they're two separate. So that's one way that I could do it. I could just do it that way and then see where they actually cross together. So here is my negative 12. I know that we have a closed circle there because of that equal sign there. And then on the other end, I have 3 all the way over here because of that. That also has a closed circle. Notice that for greater than, it goes to the right, and for less than, it goes to the left, which is correct. So therefore, it has to be between. So that means I could rewrite this as n is less than or equal to, I'm sorry, negative 12 is less than or equal to n, which is less than or equal to 3, just by looking at that right there. Okay, and that's how I can rewrite that one. Okay, now I think we have one more problem with an inequality. So according to 2014 data, annual salary of a nurse is at least. So here we go. Remember that we're going to see these words here, at least and at most. I know I talked about them in the last section. So at least 18,790, and at most, in this particular case, 36,170. Write an inequality for their weekly salary. So notice this is their annual salary. So what we want to do first is we want to divide both by 52 because there's 52 weeks. Okay, so we're going to divide both of them by 52. So we have 18,790 divided by 52, which turns out to be 361.35. That's how much they make a week. And then 36,170 divided by 52, and that equals 695.58. That's what we have. And all we're doing is writing the inequality. We don't have to do anything else. So at the very least, they make this much. At the very most, they make this much, which means it must be in between those two numbers. So then we have 361.35 is less than or equal to X, their salary, less than or equal to 695.58. And that would be our final answer. And that's how we deal with the ands. The next thing that you're going to be dealing with is a check. And then we go to the next video.